Hello, welcome back to another episode of Chaotic Torture RC. Please excuse the mess around me. It's been chaotic for me. I've reworking my area, had to redo my computer, as I mentioned in one of my other videos. I've just had so much going on. I realized I haven't done any actual RC videos for a little while. All I've done is some Tech Tip Sundays. So for tonight, I'm coming to you all. I'm gonna explain some of the build stuff that I've got going on with a GCM skeleton chassis on some scx10 axles. If you haven't already seen it, go back to my very first video that I ever posted. I posted on a GCM skeleton chassis. It's got a yellow Jeep body that was built over the RC 4-wheel drive Yoda axles. It was a very nice build, very good truck. I like them. This is my third GCM build total. This will be the second one that I've done on scx10 axles. I know a lot of people like the scale look of the Yoda axles. I feel the scx10 are a little more capable, a little more durable, so I prefer this over the other one, but it's whatever a builder would want to choose. What makes mine just a little bit different than others, you know, a lot of people have welded together a cage. I just welded me up one this week, wrapped it in some foam padding for some scale appearance, because a lot of Jeeps have the foam on there. I got a little bit of wrinkles in it. I'm still working on it, but I made a bikini top for this, just something a little bit different that not everybody sees on their RC Jeeps. So I figured, you know, I would do the bikini top just for a little bit of difference. I've got a scale driver in there. Eventually, when I get done with this, it will have working headlights, working tail lights. I plan on drilling out my it's got a full interior, full dash with all the gauges and stuff, and I plan on drilling all my gauges out and lining it with a thin clear plastic. And then I've got some amber lights that a friend of mine got for me at a closeout sale that I'm gonna put in there. I'm gonna light all my cluster panel in a amber. It'll be very dim, but it'll be really it'll be a nice touch, a highlighting touch. I've also got the RC 4-wheel drive Tough Armor front bumper on there. You have to excuse me, I don't have my steering set up on yet, and link bar. I'll get that later. I've just been working on this a little here and a little there. That's why I'm here with you guys. I'm going to do some work on camera with this and show you guys what I have going on. I don't have my body actually mounted right now, but I'm using the stock bolt holes up front, and then I made a plate that uses the stock plastic in the back. There's several thousand, I don't want to say thousand, but many different ways to mount these bodies. I'm using just one of the original traditional ways to do it. So I'm not going to go into that because everybody has their own way of doing things. But like I said, mine's not bolted down for now, so I can just pull this off and show you what we've got going on underneath here. I'm going to set this off to the side here. Alright, and for those of you that haven't seen one of these, this is the GCM skeleton chassis. What it does is it brings your transmission up to the front, and you get to use your axial scx10 transmission up here. It mounts there, brings it up front and brings it low. Then you've got a center transfer case that it runs a shaft from here to there. Then you got outputs here and there. I haven't run them yet. That won't take me long to do so. That run from there to there. In the rear, it'll run a shorter shock. Some people run the Dinky RC cantilever kit. I considered making my own cantilever, but I actually really like these. These are old HPI RS4 Rally shocks. They're a little bit taller than a touring car shock, but they're from the old HPI. I'd say that thing's at least a 15-year-old kit, and I've had these shocks for that long, but they're just so smooth and fluid. I really like these shocks, and they suit this setup well. And then the front, for now, I'm just using standard scx10 shocks in the front. I'm going more for scale, so I don't need super huge articulation, but it's still going to get, you know, it's a decent amount of flex for a short wheelbase truck. This has a chassis mount servo setup design. I don't have my servo in there, but let me get my finger right in this spot there where my middle finger's surrounding. It's got a mounting bracket there and a mounting bracket down there, and your servo just drops in there. Now there's a plate right up here that's notched out. You could knock that out if you chose to, if you wanted to do a servo winch. But since I'm using the RC 4-wheel drive Tough Armor bumper, I'm going to mount me a worn winch right there and use a Hey OK controller to be able to control it from my radio. Most of my stuff I use a Spectrum radio, but with this build my son's going to be running this one, so I'm going to use a Tactic 3-channel radio and let him control it off that. You've got a place up here for your radio box. Some people use it for battery mounting. It's all however you want to do it. There's for a small setup you would think that it's limited space, but there's actually, if you get creative, there's a lot of ways, a lot of different places to mount your electronics and batteries in this. I plan on running 3S LiPos in this, the 2200 that I use on some of my drones. I've got a bunch of batteries like this, and they happen to fit in the back section here of the body. They fit back here if I want to run them back there and then run my cables down through there, or I've actually got room under here when I mount the body to run stuff under there. I'm not exactly 100% sure how I'm going to do my batteries. I think I'm going to give myself 2 different battery mounting options, just for because I got a few different battery sizes that I run in the smaller setups. But anyways, while I have y'all here, I'm going to go ahead and throw a few of the electronics on, just so y'all get an idea and can see it. Motor wise, I'm not going to run anything special in this one. On my last one I ran a Team Novak 13.5 brushless on a Hobby Wing speed control. It did really well. It handled it just fine, no problems. Run times were good. The transfer cases on these, it's got 2 steel gears in there, and they handle the power fine. This is a very smooth transfer case. I've been happy with it. I like it. I'm just getting me a couple screws out here to mount my motor. For my screw kit, for the ones that didn't come with the kit, I'm using a screw loose kit. I've been very happy with that purchase. Probably one of the better screw purchases that I've ever made while being in the hobby. But yeah, for the motor I'm using, I got a axial 35 turn motor that for this one, like I said, my son's going to be running it, so it didn't need to be stupid crazy fast. And 35 turn on 3S, that's plenty of power, especially for a trail truck. This was a brand new motor that came out of my axial bomber. I think I ran it half a pack and realized that the bomber deserves something much better than that, so it came out, and a Tekin Rock 412 went in it. Let me look at that gear mesh. I'm using the upgraded 32 pitch setup on this over the 48 pitch. 48's a little quieter, but 32 is more durable. And with my son, when he drives things, he's got the tendency forward, reverse. Don't want to say he's a bad driver. He just likes to drive hard. But show you that. That's where your motor sits after you get it all mounted up. Speed control wise, I've got a couple tiny ones that are small, but I don't, and they're waterproof. But since my batteries aren't going to be mounted up here like they were on some of my other ones, I think I'm just going to go with the AE5 for him to use. And like I said, I'm using the Tactic servo. I actually did a video on this servo for a Tech Tip Sunday where I coated it with a marine grease, and it's still waterproofed. And with this truck, I don't foresee him or myself ever running it where the water's coming up over everything. So it's waterproofed for now, but it'll be fine. But yeah, I'm thinking about throwing this ESC here, using the A5 on this for the build, and then probably mount it like that. It's leaving me with some issues on my on-off switch there. I need to pull that through. Probably mount my receiver here. Let me see. Mount my speed control here right next to the motor. Mount my receiver there. I will do some work with the wire so it's not there. And then that leaves me the option for my on-off switch to be mounted somewhere either on the side of the chassis, so I can just reach underneath and turn it on and off. Or I may clip the wire and extend the wires and run it to the back where it's out of the way of everything. Just run it down along the side of the rails. Motor wires are pretty self-explanatory. They just plug in. Like I said, I do plan on putting a Warn winch. I've got one for it there. And I got a Hey OK winch controller, which is, it plugs into the third channel. It's just a little small device that's wrapped in some sort of black silicone, so I can put it wherever. I still got to mount a servo in here. I'm not quite sure which servo setup I plan on using in here. More than likely to be one of my high-techs. I'm a fan of high-tech servos. But basically all I got left to do on this is to mount the servo, hook the front steering assembly up, run my drive shafts, tape this in and get my wires straightened out, and then eventually I will have to do my lights. And what I'll probably do with my lighting setup is I'll make a harness, more than likely, that runs from my receiver or whatever I'm hooking them to the body. That way I can disconnect it and unplug it when I'm laying the body on top of all this. Other than that, the only thing that I can think of that I haven't done for this that I may do later down the road is weld me up some sort of rear bumper to go on after the body's on, and maybe some side skids for rock sliders. I don't know. I didn't need the rock sliders on my other one, and this one's got a little bit more ground clearance with this setup and design, so I may not need them for this. I've thought about all sorts of things that I'd like to do, but for now I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can, but make it look nice. I want to try to keep it, you know, a traditional scale looking Jeep with some off-roading capabilities, and I think with this I've trimmed the fenders down some, brought them in a little bit. These tires aren't Class 1 legal because they're too high, but technically if I was to use the right height tire on here, I left enough fender where this still can classify as a Class 1, and my bumper is as wide as my front window at the widest place, so that it's still Class 1 qualified. Basically it's just a Jeep with its top off. Let me see where I've got it at. If I chose to, I could modify this where the original body posts were that mount where these go. I could actually modify this to where the top goes on over top of that if I needed to. I may eventually make some half doors out of vinyl for this. I'm not sure on that either. If anybody has any suggestions, please feel free to comment and give me some. Like I said, this is a project build. There's nothing set in stone in which direction I go with it. I do know I need to put some lights on there, get some lights in the front and in the back. I've considered maybe doing a light bar across the top here. I've got a couple smaller ones from One Too Many RCs that I may mount up here. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. I may do some rock pods, mount them underneath the body to shine downwards. That way whoever's driving this, my son or I, if we're doing some night trailing, we'll be able to see at night better. I've considered that, or I may even considered maybe going with some red LED strips or blue LED strips. I'm not sure of the color, because eventually I do plan on painting this Jeep body. The fender flares I know are going to get painted black. I don't know what color I'm going to do the actual body itself, but I do plan on getting rid of the red, just so it's my own design. And on that note, I believe that's about all I can say about this for now until I do some more building and wrenching. If you all would want to keep up with what I'm doing, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, comment. I try to answer every question I possibly can. And if this is something that you're interested in seeing and following up with and want to see more of, please give my video a thumbs up. More thumbs up and stuff from my videos. It definitely helps my morale in keeping me doing this. And until next time, thank you for watching.